Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Brody Jackson, and today I am going to be reviewing my year for wrestling. Now, what this means is basically I'm going to be reviewing not necessarily every individual match I went over this year, but like the highlights of my year for wrestling. And it just so happens that today is January 5th. I'm recording this. This is, I believe, 5 years since my first day of professional wrestling training. I say I believe because I don't know if 5 is the right number, but it was definitely this day. And it's crazy to think about all those years ago, training in Newport, Vermont with Tyler Payne, starting back January 5th, 2019. It's been crazy because that was so much has sprouted since then. I have no idea that, or I had no idea that any of this would be happening. So this is going to be a fun video for me. So to start off, I want to go over every match I had this year. I had at least 12 matches this year. No, at least 13, but there's a few more that I think I'm missing because there were some months that I missed. This was really cool. I got to wrestle all 12 months this year, which is big because it's only my second active year because COVID shut down wrestling for an entire year and a half for me. I debuted literally a month before COVID. So it shut everything down for a year and a half, fresh out of training for me. So it was really difficult getting my start. But now that I've been back, I got to wrestle every single month this year. And it's not like last year where it's like I worked most of the year. It wasn't even all the year anyway, but most of the year that I had worked was me reffing. Now, I wrestled all 12 months, and it was wrestling, not going to ref. So I'm going to start off by highlighting each match that I did this year, and I have it pulled up here for reference to make sure I have it in the right order, and the amount of matches, and who they were with, and all that fun stuff. So my first match for the year was against Frank Bones at the Noah Strong wrestling event, which took place in Derby, Vermont on January one of the days. I don't remember which. This show was a lot of fun. For some context, this was a charity event for a local student who had unfortunately taken his own life at a young age. And it's actually right in the town I grew up in. The guy who orchestrated the event, who also is a wrestler, lives in the same town, and I've known this family for a long time, so hearing about this was really unfortunate, and so I got asked to do the event, and I was like, it's a chance for me to wrestle, it's a chance for me to show my support to the family. I have no reason to say no. And we had the ETWA crew helping us run this show, which was really great. We used their ring. We got help from them to get in contact with the venue, so on and so forth. The whole family, the Myers family that runs ETWA, they were all there in support for the event. And actually, one of them may have made an appearance on the show, but I won't say who or when. You have to go watch the show back to see that. And to add another reason to make this show so special to me, is I had 3 different bookings for this same day. Now, not that I took them, but I had them offered to me. So I had the Noah Strong show, which was the first one that I got asked about, which is the one I said yes to. Then I found out that TIW had an event the same day, and unfortunately, I obviously wasn't able to make it. I had made a prior commitment, given the context of the show and everything it represented, and the fact that I was super excited to work with Frank, because I always watch my opponent's stuff, and he's one of those guys, he's been around for a long time. He owns multiple wrestling rings, so he's training at his own house, and he's working his ass off, and he's just really, really good. So getting to work with him was a huge deal to me once I found out how good he really was. But it was really cool because I got overbooked. I had never been overbooked before. It's like, wow, I just started getting to wrestle again in the second half of 2022. We're starting 2023 off. In January, my first booking of the year, I have 3 show options, and that's a big deal. And of course, what would I be doing if I didn't mention the third option? It was to wrestle for 3W, which I had wrestled for a couple times in the past. I have videos on my channel in the matches playlist, and I was going to take it, but the problem was they didn't tell me enough about the event, and it was after I'd already accepted the Noah Strong show. If they were able to give me a better enough opportunity, I probably could have said yes, but I knew it wasn't going to be able to match the context of the Noah Strong show. So it was going to be really tough. All things considered, it was going to be really tough to turn down the Noah Strong show, especially after I had already accepted. And unfortunately, with 3W and TIW, they both had just gotten in contact a little too late, but it was like, it's no hard feelings. Let me know what you got. I'd be happy to keep working for these companies. I haven't been back to 3W since, but they actually just announced their first event in I think over a year because they had some management switches that I believe I am not entirely in on the scoop like I was when I first started with them. So that's not necessarily entirely accurate. I'm sure I'm missing some details there, but in terms of TIW, I have been back several times, so luckily there was no hard feelings there. All the promoters get it normally anyway. It's like, well, if you have another booking that day, no big deal. We don't sign you to contracts. So luckily that's the way that went down, but it was a really great show. I really loved working with Frank, and it was one of those things, going into the match, when him and I were talking backstage, it was like, we talk when we first meet and everything, and I can't really get much of a read on him. He's kind of a quiet, kind of not a very outspoken guy when I first met him and first introduced myself. And by the end of the day, after we had the match, we were talking like we had known each other for 10 plus years. And we were just, immediately, we just got very buddy-buddy, and it was very, very great experience overall. I really would love to see Noah Strong do more shows to support kids who have been bullied and to support suicide awareness and all this sort of stuff. And I'm a big mental health advocate because of, watch my videos from last year, you'll see why. I don't need to go into detail now, but it's a very important thing to me, so I would really love to see those events come back. And if we are able to do any more of them, I would love to be a part of it and help out in any way I can. Even if I'm not needed to wrestle, I would most likely help out. So, Henry, the guy who ran it, if you're watching this by any chance, any plans to do any more, let me know. I'm happy to do it. So that was January. What was February? February was TIW, and this was February Fallout. And this show was kind of, I'm not going to lie, this was not a show that I loved. And the reason is because I got put into a pre-show match. And given context of that, I was expected to be doing an Al Snow seminar in Immortal Championship Wrestling with some of the other younger guys. I never said I was going to do it. But it makes sense because I trained with several of those guys, and we all kind of came into the company at the same time. So the promoter, unfortunately, had made the mistake of assuming I was going to be there when I wasn't. So I wasn't put in anything predominant. It was just a pre-show match. It was fun. I did enjoy the match. And what we did, I was happy with it, and we did walk away with a win. And that's always a good thing. But at the same time, it's like I really think we could have gotten a little more out of the day than we did. But that's okay. This was still just February. We're just getting started. Next up was Forward March, and this was my match with Sean Phoenix. And what could I say about this match? This match was just an instant classic. Sean and I were so similarly sized. Obviously, he's substantially bigger than I am, but we're very smaller competitors. We're very fast. We're very agile. We have a very broad moveset, I think would be the best way to say it. And so, you get two guys like him and I in the ring. It's just great. I got to learn some things from him in terms of just kind of watching what the veteran does. He, I think, got to learn some things from me in terms of some of the moves that I was able to bring to the table and things like that. We came together for the match. We clashed, and it was just a really, really good experience. I think that match was very up there. Sean is somebody who I have checkered history with, we'll say that, but that match was a banger. Next up in the list is April Assault for TIW. This show was a lot of fun. This was actually right around my birthday that this show happened, because my birthday is in April. And this was my match where I fought Scotty Arrow, who is now, and I think the month after, he became the champion for TIW, which was super cool to get to work with him, and especially knowing he was the champion right after my match with him. Him and I beat the crap out of each other. It was a good match. I had a lot of fun. That's honestly the reoccurring theme of the year, is it was just a really great, fun learning experience of a year for wrestling for me. And this was another match that I would just say is one of my more favorite matches. It's a pretty long list for the year, and some of my favorite matches I've ever had have been this year. The best ones, objectively, that I've had, not just my favorite necessarily, were also in this year. So there's a lot. It's a long list, but this match was definitely in there. So next up we have May, and this was the start of something beautiful. May was the first show for Green Mountain Wrestling, a show produced by someone who I actually worked with prior in ETWA, And when he had ended up leaving the company, he started his own, and it was just an unbelievable show. The show itself was unbelievable. They had some unbelievable talent. The experience was great. It was so cool to wrestle in Barry's Elks Lodge. We're actually going back on January 28th. Free plug for them. Go check that out if you haven't. If you're in the area, make sure you see that. You are not going to want to miss it. But the whole show was great. I got to meet some new talent. I got to work with some familiar faces. And I had a match with my arch rival. One of the arch rivals, because there's three. Was my original arch rival in Preston Douglas. Now, the way it went down is I refereed the first half of the show, as that was still my role in the Northern Vermont area, and I went out for Preston Douglas's open challenge, thinking I was going to ref, and Preston Douglas comes out. He says, all right, this is my open challenge. First person to step in this ring will be who I fight. And who comes out, whether you would believe it or not, it is the last Street Fighter B.A. Tatum. So I was excited, because I was like, I get to watch Preston get his ass kicked. Well, Preston decided to pull a fast one. Preston told the ring announcer, Clark Dion, that since I was the first man to step into the ring, I technically accepted the open challenge. Unfortunately, I was not able to back out of it, although, hey, I'll take an opportunity to wrestle. So, we called out the other ref. We let the ring announcer Clark Dion know, and he announced that I would be the one facing Preston Douglas. I tried to barter with Preston, and he didn't want to listen. He actually slapped me in the face twice, and that was enough for me to say, all right, this is enough. I'm not playing games. You want to fight? Let's fight. And I definitely put in my work and fought valiantly, though I did come up on the losing end. I definitely held my own against Preston, and he's lucky because he barely beat me. And the next time we meet in the ring, because there will be a next time, he's not going to win. So next up we had June, and this was a match against Owen Brody. And it was essentially just a match made in heaven right there. He called me out as a referee. He said he was impressed by me the month prior. He didn't have a match, and he wanted to face me to see what I can do. And he really taught me a lesson on the basics of pro wrestling. He broke it down. He showed me you don't have to be fast. And we walked out with our hands held high together, and it was a great match. Now, next up, we have July, and July was very interesting, because in this area, it's very, very difficult to find a booking for July, at least in terms of the places I was prior working for. Somebody new, that would have been a different story. Now, this show was for TIW, and I was told I would be facing Aaron Roxas in what would have been a very hard-hitting battle. And I'll be honest, I don't know if I would have beat him. Normally I go in with confidence. I don't know if I could have beat Aaron Roxas. He's a very big dude. He's a very hard hitter. But he's fast, too. So it was going to be a challenge, for sure. But, unfortunately, he was not able to make it to the show. And I found out after I got there that somebody I had a history with would be taking his place. The person taking his place was, of course, my other arch-rival, Chris Jackson. And Chris and I, we have had so many battles. Every time we meet in the ring, we're at each other's throats, we're beating the crap out of each other. We've had backstage brawls. In this match with Chris, he brought his A-game, and he was smart. He's smart. I'll give him credit where credit is due. He tried taking up my legs. He knows I'm a little guy, and I excel when I can work fast, when I can jump, when I can use the ropes. He knows that that's my area of expertise. And good on him for that. He knew that, and he had targeted my legs. But the joke was ultimately on him because I was able to hit him with that Shining Wizard. 1, 2, 3. Second victory of the year. First singles victory in TIW. This was all in all a banger of a match as well. It's just too bad that there wasn't more of a crowd. The crowd was pretty thin that day. That was the only negative from that day. But the match itself, I loved it. I love getting to beat up Chris because he's such a little punk. It was just good. And up next was August, and this was the Cold Hard Guapos versus Owen Brody and myself. And this match was a lot of fun as well because I got to team up with somebody who took me under their wing in Owen Brody. He really showed me the way. He really helped get me to a place where I felt more confident. He really helped teach me, and I'm really happy to be his protege. And in this match against the Cold Hard Guapos, we fought valiantly. I won't lie, Johnny Pierce beat me up pretty good. Johnny Pierce got me a lot. And I will say, too, those boys, they hit hard. But you can't best the Brodies. You cannot best Owen Brody and Brody Jackson. Because we got something they don't have. What is it? You have to watch the match and you'll see. But ultimately, we ended up picking up the win via a roll-up. And, hey, we slipped by, but we still got the win. And that is a good day on the calendars. And now moving on to September, the busiest month for me for wrestling. And it was last year as well. In 2022, I believe I had three events that took place. In September this year, 2023, I say that, I'm recording it in 2024. I know, stop it. In September 2023, I had, I think, 4 or 5 different shows. It was a very busy month. And I worked for every company that I have worked for, except for 3W, in this month. And it was just a really busy month full of a lot of great matches and a lot of great times. And this match in September, the first one of September, was Johnny Pierce versus Brody Jackson. Once again, him and I have met in the ring, and hey, I met him backstage in ETWA. Him and I are no strangers to one another. It was just until GMW we met in the ring. Now, neither my partner Owen Brody or Diego Alvarez, Johnny Pierce's tag team partner, were able to be there that day, so it ended up being Johnny Pierce and I going one-on-one, and though I may have lost the match, I think it's safe to say I put on a good showing, and I put on the best show against Johnny that I have had to date. Now, next was TIW Showdown in September, the second show. I put up 3 fingers. That's smart, isn't it? The second show of September, and this match was Andromeda Ascending, my tag team with Rickety Rocket in TIW, versus the Deep South, Zayden Lin and Redneck Randy Walker. This match, this is probably top 3 matches of the year for me. I mean, we all 4 of us, we beat the crap out of each other. We took each other to our limits. And at the end of the day, when all was said and done, they're great guys. We're good friends with them backstage, and so we shook their hands at the end of the match and thanked them, and we were very, very happy with it. And just throwing it out there, we do some crazy shit in the second half. All of these matches, of course, are also in my matches playlist on my YouTube channel. Link for that will be directly down below in the description, just below the briefing on the video. And there will be more added to it as more matches come up. We are missing my December show. That is the only thing that is not on that list currently. There is nothing better than the beginning of fall for wrestling because it is fair season. There's so many opportunities, especially in the Vermont area. And the third event in September was on the 23rd for Green Mountain Wrestling once again. We started the month off at the Orleans County Fair with my match against Johnny Pierce. We ended the month at the Barrie Heritage Festival in a match that I think I should have won. And this was my match against CC Boost, somebody who I've actually refereed for multiple times in ETWA, and I might have even refed for him on the first GMW show. I don't remember. But Boost is a really great talent. He's a very, very good wrestler. If only he could set his ego aside. But unfortunately, I could say all that. I did come up short in the match. But I think it's safe to say, if I didn't call the wizard, he wouldn't have known it was coming. So that wouldn't have led to the end, and I would have walked away with that victory. Now, what was so special about September 23rd, this GMW show with CC Boost? This was only my first match for the day. This was my first doubleheader ever in the wrestling business. And I've had back-to-back weekends, I've had back-to-back days, but I have never had a doubleheader. And this doubleheader was not just any other match. This was my return to ETWA Pro Wrestling after 6 months of being out as a ref, and after not wrestling for them for a year and a half. Wrestling February of 2022, and coming back in September of 2023 as a wrestler for them. This was a big, big deal for me. This match was their Dirty 30 Rumble, the 30th anniversary of the company, and I was watching them as a fan before I ever started training. This was back in October 2017, and I've been very involved with that company's progression over time. And to see how far they've come since I first started watching and knowing I get to wrestle for them in what I can imagine is yet to even be their peak is such a big deal for me. It's such an important night for me. And not only that, but I got to start this match off number 2. And what's even cooler than that is number 1 in this Rumble was Jake the Snake Marcy. Now, for those of you who don't know why that's so important, is Jake last appeared at Backdrops and Broken Hearts in February 15th, 2020 for ETWA, the last show before COVID. And after they returned, he was unable to compete. So him coming back to the company that he was one of the originals for was such a big deal. And also knowing that I got to wrestle with him, knowing I got to train with him a lot in Tyler Payne's ring was a very big deal for me. Although I'm not that kid that he trained with, I brought my A game, and if only there wasn't that timer, and King Crab came in and grabbed me. If he didn't grab me, Jake would have been over, and I would have already started my streak. I lasted nearly the entire match. I was thankfully the Iron Man in the match. Nobody was able to get me out until one man. And that one man was Sonny Defarge. My major referee rival. Sonny Defarge is a son of a bitch who will do anything to get his way. And I have no respect for Sonny. He's a guy that's always had an ego backstage, even in February 2022 when he first came into ETWA, his very first match in ETWA. I refereed it. He lost to Jobs, and he still walked around backstage with an ego, just like he does every single month. So you know what? I have nothing nice to say about him. To make things worse, Sonny Defarge was a problem every single month, and he always gave the officials and the management a big pain in the ass. This all culminated in the Green Mountain Classic, where he beat Anthony Green, among other competitors, to become the new ETWA champion. But the problem is, he didn't do it by the book. He attacked Anthony Green by hitting him with a low blow, and he beat him after attacking not just myself, but referee Adam Brunton, which is just not something you can do. And he clotheslined both of us. He clotheslined Adam first. I wasn't even supposed to ref the match, but I had to go out because Adam was out. And I get in the ring, he puts his feet on the ropes, and I say, "You can't do that, Sonny." So he gets in my face, and he shoves me. You don't shove the referee. I'm the official. You listen to me. So I push him back. Safe to say he didn't like that very much because he clotheslined my head off, and I had to be helped backstage by medical. And the next show was August. It was Heatwave for ETWA, and Sonny fought the Mullet Man. And, shocker, feet on the ropes. He gave me all kinds of trouble again, and again, and again, and again. He pulled me into the way at Seasons Beatings when he fought Matt Cross, and I had to take an elbow to the face, being helped out by medic again. Again. That's twice he had done that to me. So when it came time for the Dirty 30 Rumble, and I found out Sonny Defarge was going to be in the match, you best believe I expected to get my hands on him. Now, unfortunately, there were so many people in the ring, he got to me first. But he couldn't get me out right away. I held on for dear might, for dear life, all that I could, and it took him a long time before he was able to eliminate me, but unfortunately he did. I got hit in the back as I was about to hit him, and he hit me with a clothesline. He picks me up by my mustache and throws me out of the ring. What kind of person does that? But nevertheless, I made it into the top 10, maybe even top 5 I haven't seen. Unfortunately, that has yet to go out on replay. Hopefully that will be out very soon. But it was a great day. Nevertheless, Sonny, I will get my hands on you. Now that was all I had for September. Now we move on to October. And we start out with the next ETWA show, which took place at Sunnyside Elementary School in Stansted, Quebec, Canada. Which means that day I became an international superstar. And on that day, I fought in an 8-man tag against the Lost Boys, who I formed an alliance with in the Rumble. And I also got to be joined on the team by The Spoiler, who was also a team of ours in the Rumble. And this match was so tough for me to get through. They put me in, a 5'5", 150-pound kid, against a 300-pound giant. And it was very, very hard-hitting, very tough battle, but we came away with the win, and all 4 of us even got to pin the guy. So you know what? That's a good day in my book. And Sunnyside is a beautiful place to hold a show. The set was amazing. The match was amazing. I was so happy with the whole day, kicking off October on a really great note. Now, my second and final event for October was TIW Fall Frenzy, their yearly Rumble show that they do. And this was another one. It was just a simple Rumble. There was nothing too crazy about it. It was a good time. I got to beat people up. I got beat up a little. And you know what? I may not have won again. Unfortunately, this seems to be a pattern. But, as always, you learn something new every match. Next up, we are into November with my only event for the month with TIW November Knockouts. And this show, Andromeda Ascending, which is myself and Rickety Rocket, we fought the Dillon Street Boys in a #1 contendership for the TIW Tag Team Championships. And the Dillon Street Boys, they're great guys. They were a lot of fun to work with. And luckily, we came out with the victory, earning ourselves a shot at the Tag Team Champions the following month. And, you know, I'll just say it. TIW, they got a lot of great crew. And, I mean, hey, they got me on the roster, so that only makes sense. And I got to get the pin in the match, thankfully, while Rocket was holding Corey Bush outside the ring to avoid breaking up the pin. And I got to pin Sean Miller off of the Stardom Splash. That is my patented frog splash. For those of you who do not know, the greatest frog splash in the business today. 1, 2, 3. We got a title shot. And that leads us directly into December, the tag team title match at the Clash Before Christmas 7 for TIW. Now, on this show, I got to participate in 2 different matches. I got to be in the Battle Royal, the Deck the Halls Battle Royal that they do every year, and I was down to Final 4. And unfortunately, Randy Guerrero decided to cheat. I throw him out, and he throws me out while the refs aren't looking. They didn't see me throw him. So what do? When Danny Adam makes his return, I grab Randy Guerrero. I pull him over the top rope, and he's out. Now, Randy and I do have some unfinished business, but you know what? We'll set that aside until the time is right. And that's because we have to talk about the Tag Team Championship match. Rocket and I fought valiantly. We hit and run just like we planned, but unfortunately, we were bested, and we did not win the TIW Tag Team Championships. The Alliance of Violence, Samuel Bolt, and Pierre Vachon were unfortunately just too big, just too strong, and we could not best them. And unfortunately, Rocket is actually out with an injury now he sustained in that match. Samuel Bolt absolutely destroyed his knee, and he had to go in for surgery for that. So he might be out for the months coming up. We don't know. We're waiting on doctor's orders to see if he can be medically cleared. All the best luck to you, Rocket. Now, to close out December and to close out the year for wrestling for me was a show that, oddly enough, I didn't even wrestle on. On December 29th, I went down to Fall River, Massachusetts for Top Rope Promotions, and I was supposed to go the month prior and wrestle for them, but unfortunately due to complications, I was unable to make it. So, I decided to show up even though I wasn't having a spot guaranteed, and luckily I was able to help run cameras, which I've always loved doing. It's very, very fun. I've done it here and there. I've done it sporadically this year, last year, whatever. And it was really cool. And if you didn't see the pictures on my Instagram, wrong side. This was the camera that I got to use when filming. It was a very cool camera. It's like a $2,000 camera. He had 3 of them. It was a good time. I will say, props to the guys on TV because your shoulders and your arms are killing you when you're holding the camera up like this, like with both arms for 3 hours straight. It's tough. It's really tough. But it was a lot of fun. Got to meet some really cool people. And I got to meet Carmelo Hayes, as you can see in this picture right here. Carmelo Hayes showed up to do a seminar early in the day. Unfortunately, we had to travel far enough. We had about a 5-hour drive. We were unable to make it. But he was there, and I did get to meet him. He's a very cool guy. And, fun fact, he actually has wrestled multiple times. My trainer, Tyler Payne. Tyler Payne has actually had his very second match in pro wrestling. So that was really, really cool to find out. And the match is up there on YouTube as well. It was back in 2014, almost 10 years ago. And getting to meet him and getting to know that is really, if you know one person in wrestling, you know everybody. It's so cool to know him and get to know that he wrestled with my trainer and to know that he's such a cool guy. Like, he's so laid back. You never know with people who've been on TV. And what made it coolest of all to peel back the curtain, is it's so rare to get to meet somebody currently contracted to that company at an indie show. And Top Rope's not like some run-of-the-mill backyard fed. They have unbelievable talent and unbelievable product. But to have Carmelo be there while he's currently contracted to WWE, it's so cool to get to know that. I met tons of people that have formerly been contracted, but to meet someone who's currently contracted with the company is something I never would have expected. We actually didn't know until that morning he was going to be there. I was already driving to the promoter's house that we met with to drive down to the show, and it was on the drive that I found out. So it was a really cool surprise, really last moment thing, but it ended up being one of my favorite days of wrestling for the entire year, even though I didn't even wrestle. But that was the year for me for wrestling for 2023. It was a huge year, full of highs and lows, and mostly highs, let's be real. And a lot of crazy cool matches, a lot of crazy cool experiences with some great opponents. And I'm so excited for what we have coming up next year. Wrestling is thriving. I am so happy with it. And I can't wait to see what happens next. And speaking of what happens next, let's talk future dates. Upcoming dates for me, I have GMW for January 28th. Beyond that, I will not say any other dates because there is nothing confirmed yet. I don't want to say them until they've been made public, just out of privacy for the company in case anything changes. But I will also be appearing at least 3 other times for them this year. And I have at least 4 shows for ETWA coming up this following year. And we are waiting to hear back from TIW. They are making a venue change. So once we hear back on where the new place is, we will confirm dates, yada yada. And I will be appearing for them as often as I can as well. So 2024 is looking like a very big year as well for wrestling. I think the only 2 months of the year I don't have dates offered for are July and August is up in the air when that hopefully that gets confirmed, because that would be a really big deal. If I could get one for July, then that could be 2 years in a row. And currently I've wrestled the last 16 months straight without a break. That is consecutive. I would love to add another 12 months to that. So that was my year for wrestling, and that is what I have coming up for this year. This was a lot of fun to make. I've been thinking about doing this video for quite a while, and to get to finally make it, and to be able to do it with my new wireless mic, and to do it with the context of everything that's happened, and to finally be done with shows, because, not that I want to be done with wrestling for a year, but it's nice to now have them all out there so I can talk about them, because I knew for months beforehand where most of these were going to be and what I was doing for most of them. So it was really hard to keep things quiet for a while, knowing some of the bigger things I was doing this year. But you have to do what you have to do. And as I am wrapping this up, I have just realized that ETWA, about a half an hour ago, has posted the events now publicly, so I will go ahead and list those off here. So, to fire these off really quickly while trying to keep myself in frame here, we have February 10th at the Newport/Derby Elks Lodge, March 9th in the same building, April 13th, also in the Elks Lodge as well. May 11th in the Newport Municipal Building. September 14th at the Elks Lodge. October 12th in the Elks Lodge. November 9th in the Elks Lodge. And December 14th at the Municipal Building. And I will link that post up onto the description of the video as well. And those are the dates for the year. So that was my year in review for wrestling of 2023, a preview of what I'm doing in 2024, and happy anniversary to me on wrestling for 5 years. So this was a really great video. I had a lot of fun doing this. Let me know what you guys think about it. Let me know what content you want to see. I'm always open to new ideas. And as always, you guys know how it goes. Like, comment, subscribe, all that typical YouTuber bullshit. And I will see you guys in the next video.